Hello, good morning. That was a good start. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome. Today we're going to marry two art forms, the first one being the spoken word and the second one being music. We're going to start the day off with two music pieces written for string orchestra, and then we're going to move to the spoken word, and after that we're going to combine the two, where a specific composer, who I believe is in the audience, I'll introduce you to him later, wrote a piece based on the words written by our poet, whom I will also introduce later. The first two pieces that we're performing as a chamber ensemble is the Capriole Suite by Warlock. And even though he's quite a recent composer, the music that he composed here is reminiscent of the Renaissance. That sounds quite nice for poetry, huh? Reminiscent of the Renaissance, yes. And the Renaissance people liked sword fighting, firstly, and secondly, they liked dancing. And all of the music that we are performing here are related to dancing. And in fact, the very last movement of the suite is called sword dance as well. So they've combined, like we're combining words and music today, they combined sword fighting and dancing. After that, we moved to the St. Paul Suite. Now, the St. Paul Suite was not written for the St. Paul. I see there is NGHS, so I'm guessing it's something Girls High School. What does the N stand for? Northlands. So St. Paul's was a girls' high school in London, or is, and the composer, Gustav Holst, was a resident music teacher there. And he wrote this piece, the St. Paul's Suite, for the girls in his school, so it's very relatable. Now, we want to make today, with our massive audience, we want to make it as interactive as possible. Usually, when we perform pieces like these that consist of multiple movements, we ask you to please sit still with your hand on your lips and not clap in between movements until we're finished completely. That will not be the case today. If you enjoy the music and you want to whistle and clap and so on, please do that. It's more of an informal setting. And as we move between pieces as well, and you have pressing questions or anything like that, you're more than welcome to either go like, hey, Mr. Conductor, what was going on there? What did that piece of music represent? Why did the instruments make funny movements? Why did they pluck their strings instead of bowing them with their bows? And I think the poet will also allow you to be as interactive with him as well if you want to be. So all things has to start with tuning and getting ourselves aligned. So the orchestra will tune now, and then we will continue with the Capriole Suite. Thank you. written for schoolgirls, one would think about it very quickly and not deeply. You would think, maybe it's a bit shallow and superficial and not as, deep and emotional as we would think adult music is that was written for, someone who just lost the love of their life, like Romeo and Juliet, or a lady turning into a swan, like in the Black Swan or Swan Lake. But this specific piece has a lot of emotions and beautiful melodies, and they are represented in different sections of the orchestra. Violin, viola, bass, cello, again violin on the other side. So you can hear these melodies, and sometimes the composer, Mr. Holtz, gave it to solo violin as well, and you can really hear the emotion in it as well. So just to show that we are all human, we all experience emotion no matter really what our age. So, good. give another hand to the audience. Now I'd like to move on to more or less the second half of what we are doing, and that will be the spoken word. So you're welcome on stage. You can take over from here.
Wow, incredible, right? Hey friends, how y'all doing? Oh man, y'all made it at 10 in the morning, right? Like, yo, time of the writer, wow, what a time to be alive. Hi, I'm Xabiso Vili, and I've got poems to share, I guess. So I'm gonna start, guys, I did a thing. I wrote a poem, but like it's got two different endings. So like the audience is going to have to choose the way it ends. But also I can't like really sing, but like, you know, since we're sword fighting, I was like, let me fight with myself and everybody on guard. On guard. All right, cool. So forgive me my poor little voice. Black girl, don't lie to me. Tell me, where did you sleep last night? In the pines, where the sun don't ever shine. I'll shiver the whole night through. My husband was a railroad man, killed a mile and a half from here. They found his head in a steering wheel. His body ain't never been found. So black girl, where will you go? I'm going where the cold wind blows. In the pines, where the sun don't ever shine. I shivered the whole night through. For the women that love black men despite. In the final act, the audience will have to make a choice for black girl between yes or no. Act 1. Black girl is talking to the howl of a man she can't stop loving. Dearest lover, you must never leave bed tired of teasing out an intimacy that has given its hands to a disappearing behind the sheets, that's so tired of grasping at all this headless, this howling, chestless, this reckless heart, so restless if it wrecked less, might there be more than this deja vu wreckage of a man dying, untrying his own becoming? Now you keep this collision hidden in your softest memory, tucked in the tiniest fold of love which you have spirited away to a place so sacred you wouldn't even whisper it in a poem. My palm prayer, there's not enough wreckage to salvage for you to still be playing chicken with already sacrificed men, not enough throat to ring an unholy amen from funeral boys with steering wheels for heads. This is what I meant when I said you leave me breathless, would rip this esophagus out with my lungs so you could have less. Lay soft your palm of staying against the cartilage of my sternum, and all I could ever give you in return was the howling. And if I stayed, would that be all that remained? Act 2. Black girl recognizes the howling as the wind. My insurmountable solitude, these bones of mine, which have always been yours, cut too close, split the skin of your sighs when we touch. For this trickle on your lips, then take all my blood, and it's bleeding, my home. It was I who let you fall in love with this butcher's knife of a man anyway, my sweetest future past. For that, look at my palms. I've cut a pact with the wind, and it's shivering, offered each one of our kisses to its freezing. With my mouth gone from your warmth, my body, you would not then need to come looking for me. The wind has my marrow now. I love you, my slow disappearing, dearest black girl. This world is greedy for our bodies. So if I were to take my own life for you, for your bones now not my own, to never know what it is to grow cold to the tender of the night like this, with me already gone, my soul, would it be me that gave the bitter of our hardened memories to the wind? And maybe like that, you might have a chance to love the world still without me. Final act. Does black girl go to where the cold wind blows, especially when the cold wind is black boy? This is where the audience choose. If black girl goes, you will raise your hand for yes. And if black girl stays, you will raise your hand for no. So does black girl go to where the cold wind blows? Raise your hand for yes. Oh shit, raise your hand for no. Everybody says, all right, fine, y'all. Okay, cool. Black girl walks lonely as midnight amongst the pines, waters the roots of oaks and elms with her tears, is cradled in the collarbones of baobabs, caressed by the unending empty of her healing, learns to unmake her tongue in the hurt and in the heaving and the sigh and in the crying. She lets loose secrets from a wind that tried to make hard her softest memories. She whispers in poems now, and the trees, they whisper back. Staying is always a choice, and she does not believe them yet. Wisdom does little in filling the gaping, but sleep and its forgiving tug of time holds the yawning in its palm, so it is not always so mouth open wide. From those of us who stayed, none of us could know how many sorrows black girl slept through for her roots to begin to grow, or when she was done with graves and her yawning found her whole, how she turned her ground to the sky and planted her heart into the stars, and an ancient, tender, never-ending, wide enough sky howled to love her and never let her go. And there were all these black girls that danced beneath her roots and howled at a searching wind, and the pines, they sang along and said, at least us trees are wise enough to never cry for black boys who were so afraid of love that they would much prefer to die. Second one, yeah. Deep, guys, hey. Hey. You must come to the next show to find out what yes sounds like. Yeah, can we have number 2, please? Yeah, I can hear it. Okay. Boogeyman packs himself a burial. Or, what happens when we die? Warm earth spills from the inside of Boogeyman's cheeks. Worms it through his jaws, unhinged burrow out his teeth, let in wet soil searching for sunrise. Roots wrap around his skull, break out of his coffin. Boogeyman is coming loose at the sockets, spreading dead tissue and skin cells across the cosmos, carried in the belly of bacteria and bugs. Boogeyman returns to the stars, floats right past the bottom of the bed, leaves Black Boy's body behind, finds himself in every atom, as many as there are galaxies and grains of sand. Boogeyman is a footprint on the shore at high tide. He is in the gathering clouds and the misty rain that clings to Black Boy's skin as he dances into the sky. Boogeyman is everywhere. In the photographs of all the homies he's lost, in the urns that crowd his mantles and memorials, in the memories, faded yellow and crumbling over gravestones, in between the kisses shared with lovers long gone on nights he can't right now remember. Boogeyman is the universe dreaming of himself, and Black Boy watches the stars blossom one by one, makes a bouquet of the sky every night and places it at the foot of his bed, hoping that maybe this time Boogeyman does not leave. Dear Black Boy, when did you decide to crawl in underneath the bed with me? You're home at a funeral, a biting chill down the spine of anybody that calls for you. I've gone searching for your name, no longer recognize yourself. I've promised you a mouth that holds you soft. All I've found is the burning, the dying, Black Boy, the coffin wood clinging beneath your fingernails, the scratch marks in a casket. Whose burying is this? Which bodies have you trapped by your deathbed? I went searching for you. Why do they run from us, Black Boy? I only want to show them your heart, be it pulp and bloody, beating in my palms. It is also warm and tender. I would unravel you, Black Boy. Show them your beautiful insides. Look at these guts. What courage to live with all of these breakable parts. Recognize the claw marks behind your sternum, the gentle give of cartilage holding all your fracturing. Would throw your bones like tea leaves to divine a future where you are home and full inside your yielding body. With whom else have you shared a bed so long that would know the delicate trace of your fingertips? How pliable a fist can be when kissed. The supple release of air when you're not clutching onto your breath, hiding it from ghosts who would steal your lungs. What mending can be done with all of these demons crowding your spine? Your self-exorcism. There's not enough room in your body for the both of us. You must find your own name. And when I'm gone, remember, Black Boy, I love you. but it's time you did the same. Yours forever, Boogeyman.
Thank you for coming. So this poem, Kingdom of Scars, it's sort of, I saw it and I immediately knew what I wanted to do with it. I read it, I welled up with all sorts of emotions. I'm not usually one for emotions at all. I'm that guy that cries once every 4 or 5 years. And it's from cutting an onion. So, but this poem, at least for me, it talks about love. It says love is beautiful, but love is also, it's ugly, it's painful. It has this profound effect on us. We can't go without it, we need it, but yet it has such an ability to cut deep. So we get pulled into this space, but because we need it so dearly, we do anything we can to be in that space, to be there for that person, so that person is for us. So we can be a witness to someone's life, and that somebody would be the witness to our life. And so I just want to thank Xabiso for this opportunity, and I really hope you enjoy. Thank you.
Kingdom of Scars. I have been on a pilgrimage to a kingdom made of your scars, if only to learn what it is to love you. I've met your ghosts here, those who died crossing the chasm of your soul. They have built a palace to protect your breaking heart on top of a mountain of your sorrow, Queen of a crumbling castle. I don't trust the air up here, the oxygen too thin for breathing. I've learned how to inhale your bleeding. You don't live in the land of the broken without breaking. What is this city of hurting you've built on your skin? I have not come here to save you. No superpowers to protect your metropolis from the earthquake of your pulse or the flood of your tears. What paths are these you've carved into your cheeks? Where do they lead? I will follow them. Unearth your horror. I have been on a pilgrimage to a kingdom made of your scars. Behold, the enchantment around you. God, how she has made you. You've got a church in your DNA, a helix singing hymns. You're a spiritual experience. Dragons come to rest here. Smoldering soul, aura made of charcoal, fire sprite. Take my burning heart. It's ashes now. Lend me the powers of your phoenix kiss. We've been here before. I've read the braille of your skin-grafted scars like cracked desert sand. I, nomad who has found the survival secrets of the koi and sand beneath your searching tongue. Is this oasis when you say you love me? I wonder what the stars look like here. Can navigators still find their way home? Are their gods still etched onto your palette? Do your lighthouse eyes come on when you cry? What ships have come to harbor on your ocean lips? Away, have come to rest my head here. Sleep beneath your breath. Let your lightning strike me. Scream in the eye of your storm. Rip me apart, kingdom of scars. I don't want to be a foreigner here. I have wandered these dusty streets and broken houses, searching for your memories. What kind of apocalypse has created this? Where have all the children gone? And the birds, and the crickets, and the barking? In what silence has beauty learned to meditate? I think I can taste your atomic bomb on the tip of my tongue. You must speak the language of explosions. It is all I hear when I visit your past. Have you left it behind, or does this city still run on a nuclear core? Or do your lovers still suffer from the effects of your radiation? I have been on a pilgrimage to a kingdom made of your scars, if only to learn what it is to love you. These ghosts and their castles were perhaps not protecting my heart. This mountain I have scaled must have been a warning. Will you let me fall? Like the rest, I will decompose beneath your ground. I will grow to become another scar. I will carry another unholy brick to your crumbling altar. Strike me down if you must. Because I can't leave now. Reminder. Your sorrow is not a river. It is not here to drown you. It is holy water here to baptize you. But if you feel your chest exploding, those are your lungs turning into life rafts. Life rafts. For those we have lost, and you who is still stubbornly here, holy shit, I love you.
I have to still say good morning. It's 15 seconds before I can say good afternoon. So, good morning, everyone. And it's great to see all of you back again for this one as well. In this specific round, we're going to start with the less serious nature of art. And as we progress, it will become more and more serious until we get to the very end. But we have to start with something that's a bit lighthearted. The first piece is called Three Shanties. Who knows what a shanty is? Those are things the sailors sing to keep them productive and in rhythm. And this specific piece sounds very interesting, and I would imagine that if a lot of drunken sailors got together and they had to write a piece of music, it would sound like this. So the first piece, the composer, he uses a very popular tune, which I think you all know. What shall we do with a drunken sailor? What shall we do with a drunken sailor? And you'll recognize that immediately. After that, so this is a three-movement piece. It's three shanties that the composer kind of weaved into the wind quintet. After that, we move to the chimney or the promenade of King René. King René was a 15th century king in France, and I will guide you through the 7 movements of that piece. Else it might become a little boring if you don't know what it is about. It's 7 short movements, and I will tell you what each movement is about. After that, I'm going to invite our poet onto stage, and she will introduce 2 pieces without music. And at the end, we will have a marriage again of music and poetry, and we will do something together for you. Please enjoy the presentation. Setting, you're welcome within any of the 3 movements in the first piece to clap or whistle, or we've never had underwear thrown at us, so if you want to do that, you're also welcome. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, just a friendly reminder to make sure your cell phones are turned off or on silent, please.
Now, with every piece we perform, you have to imagine something. You have to think of what is happening. So originally, this French composer wrote this piece for a movie, along with two other composers. And so it's like Star Wars or so on, but you now have to play Star Wars in your head. And this is not Star Wars, this is Star Wars from the 1500s, so more or less the same thing. Instead of lightsabers, they had metal sabers called swords. So the first scene that we're setting here is you have to imagine something like Game of Thrones, castles and streets, and the king's procession is walking through the streets with their banners. Maybe, I think the very first episode of Game of Thrones is like this, as the king arrives in Winterfell, if I'm not mistaken, for those of you who have watched Game of Thrones. Yeah. So imagine this kind of scene of the king and his procession walking on horses, riding horses? Yes, riding horses down the street. For those of you who have young kids, like toddlers, 2-year-olds, what do they call them? The what? The terrible twos, yes. You could hear 2-year-olds in that procession. I think the king might have had a 2-year-old son that every now and then ran out of the procession. I don't know if you heard that, but there was a few interesting things. And I can only think that that was a young boy or girl running out of the procession into the crowd to steal chocolate or something. So the next one, if you've watched Romeo and Juliet before, this is called Morning Serenade, and we can imagine maybe a prince in front of the balcony of the princess in the castle as the sun hits the castle from the one side, serenading her on, let's say, for the beginning of this piece, on a flute. And you can hear the romantic tones and his eagerness for her to wake up and start the day with him. I would marry that prince in an instant. He's very talented because you can hear the melody was in flute and oboe and bassoon and horn and clarinet. So if you get a guy that can play all 5 of those instruments, marry him immediately. The next piece is called Jugglers. So now we can imagine that the morning has passed, the prince and the princess has finally had their kiss, and now the entertainment for the day arrives. The jugglers and the harlequins and all of the funny people that are going to do tricks for the king. So you can try and imagine this in the music as well. mix two pieces in one now, so we're going to perform first one and then the other. Here, firstly, we see the river beside the castle, and we can hear the lovely flowing sounds of the river in the music. After that, we get to jousting, where knights are usually on horses and they try to remove each other from the horses forcefully with very long kind of ESCOM power poles. And what happens here in this story, the knights are not on horses. They are on boats on this very river that we set the scene on, and that's why I want to do both of these as one. So firstly, we set the scene for the river next to the castle, beautiful river, the Valrivier in France, and then next to that we have the knights that are going to try and get each other off of the boats for the entertainment of the king. I don't know if you heard how vicious that was, but the king laughs every time someone falls into the water. You could hear it. Ha 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 ha. Yeah? Okay, then we move on to the final two pieces of this. The first one going to be the king and his men and now women as well, hunting in the forest. So they go with their dogs and their hunting whistle, or their hunting piccolo in this case. A piccolo, by the way, is a very small whistle. And after that, we go to the nocturne. Now, for those of you who know the composer Chopin, he has these nocturnes that he wrote, and they're called, well, nocturne means a night piece. So it's a very somber kind of piece. And in this instance, we have the final dance of the court of the king in the evening before they all go to bed. So these are the final two movements. After that, I'm going to ask our poet to come to stage, and she will take over from there. I think you've heard enough of my voice and King's.
Sawubona. Greetings. I see you. In all your significance, you are indeed here. Look at me. I am just like you. I hide my discomfort too. But today, we don't have to. Show me how I can help you better love yourself. Yesterday tricked us. Today we are searching again for hearts that love us, from the colorful splendor of the sunrise to the downfall of the rain. May we find them soon. Sanbonani. Happy World Poetry Day to all poets, lovers of poetry, performers of poetry, writers of poetry, and everything that brings poetry into life. And unfortunately, that means the difficult times as well. So today is UNESCO's declared World Poetry Day since 1999, and the rest of the world is celebrating what we're doing here. And thank you for the opportunity to the Center for Creative Arts, and I'm grateful to be performing with the KZN Philharmonic Orchestra. It's a pleasure. If I can let you in a bit, because I did put the disclaimer earlier that today we don't have to hide what's going on. And just this morning I was having breakfast with Butsane Njingane, and I was telling him my stress today, and he was like, you have stress, but it's good stress, you know, because as it is World Poetry Day, I come from Pietermaritzburg, and we have a project called the Sawubona Choice Poetry Community, which are poetry sessions that happen at the Bezzyhead Library. So today, the poets from there were visiting Ukhozi FM, which is a national radio station, so I had to be the middleman trying to organize that, and also to go back, for them to go back to celebrate World Poetry Day. So yeah, I'm letting everybody in. That's what's going on here. So it's good stress. And we're also observing Human Rights Day today, which is also a day to note, especially if you live in South Africa. I'd like to dedicate my first poem to Sipho Sabanguni Zwane. May his soul rest in peace. When I met him during the sessions back in the day in DUT, Durban Poetry Sessions, he called me mother, and I didn't understand, as I'm just, you can see I'm in my 30s, and he was just a couple of years younger than me, and he insisted. I didn't take note of it until I realized that he named his second-born daughter Luleka. So that is probably what I meant to him, or what knowing me meant. So this is a poem for him. My sun shines 3 times. You had to choose me, my dear gift. At the loss of your source, you came to me and called me mother. The first set of rays arrived at a questionable age, at the trembling of my youth, at my growing shadow, just a bridge over adolescence. You were still crossing that bridge, and I'm sorry. My will was discouraged by earthly time frames, the ego satisfied by the respect that comes with this title. I did hold for you sentiments of a sweet love. Only they danced sisterly at a motherhood festival. I know better. I don't know the wisdoms of your realm, but if a son must teach his mother a lesson, may we allow this moment. Come home, my sunshine. Your 2 brothers would love to meet you. Thank you. Second one, before I do the one at the end. It's titled Nguwe. Nguwe owafasa wakinatela. Nguwe futhi ozoqaqa lapho. Nguwe isidalwa. Kanti ke nguwe umdali uqobo. Nguwe lilikati. Nguwe lesisitulo. Nguwe lo moya esiuphefumulayo. Kuphinde kube nguwe lo. Sikubuka. Kithina. Sizibona nathi. Kuwe. Nguwe. Nguwe wonke lo. Uyinyanga. Uphinde ube lilanga. Ube yizinyoni. Uhambe phansi ube yinyoka. Uphenduka insimbi ube udondolo. Ube uwe. Ube yithi. Ube indlela sinqamule kuwe. Nguwe ke kuwena. Kithina kusona nakukona. Nguwe lo. Uzibonakalisa. Nguwe. Nguwe. Thank you. For Kwanele Nyembe, who is supposed to be standing where I'm standing and living the life I'm living at time of the writer. This is his poem and also an honor to him and his mother. On our side of the land, it is not uncommon for the sun to descend from the sky, to pluck out a man's eyes whenever it imagines itself to be short of stars. The dark brings terrors, but we have survived many nights. I have a neighbor who knocks at my door whenever her power is out. Together we spend an hour searching for a spark. Pupils so wide you almost tempted to pluck them out. I tell her that perhaps we should close our eyes. In turn she replies, these bags weigh heavy that each time I sleep, I hope it is my last. The truth must be met with an earnest response, and there is nothing more earnest than silence. The body does not know the difference between real events and the ones we've imagined ourselves. So name your scars. And know their times. Do not forget the way it was before you thought you could split your soul in half and your words would rot inside your mouth. It is not your fault that this sickness has taken over your life. We allow the quiet to linger a bit longer. With our backs against the wall, we glide in unison till our body collapses on the ground, shoulders unburdened by the weight of it all. Air lies heavy beneath the silver fog, the clouds slowly descending upon your face. On opposite sides, we grip the edges of the bed, tightly tug our feet underneath its base. The clouds slouch over, and from within its gray, a hand in shape of a crescent moon tries to hook the crevice of our stars. It advances, brought into a hold by the sudden flickering of the bulb. The clouds stare in the abyss, and the abyss stares back, quietly recesses back into the sky. My neighbor remembers that she left the stove on high, dashes back into her hive. I laugh knowing I'll do this again tomorrow at 5. It was almost fun to be in the company of another. Feels better than the loneliness of life at times. Thank you, guys.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this journey through different art forms. For this session, we have the wonderful brass quintet, most of them players in the KZN Philharmonic, so please welcome them. They've worked quite hard for this. The first work that they will be doing is by a composer whose first name is Victor. So which country do you think he comes from if his name is Victor? Russia, yes, he's a Russian. It's pretty obvious. Victor Ewald, and this is from his second brass quintet. It's the second movement, so there are multiple movements. We'll only be doing the second movement, and the second movement is in the form of theme and variations. So much like we will listen to the spoken word as much today, where it starts with a certain theme and it varies in different ways, so this music works. So they start with very basic theme, and the composer develops and shapes it into different textures, faster, slower, and so on. So when the piece starts, try and identify this theme, keep it somewhere in your head, and as we progress, while we play the music, you can get to know and try and identify the different forms and shapes that the composer shapes it in. Please enjoy the first piece. Thank you very much. The next work is usually sung by a tenor, and we have a fantastic tenor in our quintet today, and he's our first trumpet player. The work you all know, I think one of the people who really made it famous is that fat guy Pavarotti. The aria is called Nessun Dorma, and even though we've all heard this aria numerous times, we don't really know what it is about. Now, an aria is a solo piece from an opera, as most of you know, and this is from an opera by the composer Puccini, and the opera's name is Turandot. And Turandot is also the princess in this opera, and there's something about this princess, because she doesn't have to go for any man. They have to solve 3 riddles in order to take her hand in marriage. And numerous men have tried, and most of them have failed, except for one. He arrives in the city, and he goes to the princess, and he presents her with the answers of all 3 riddles. And, of course, she says, "No, I won't marry you." And he says, "Okay, we'll make a deal. If by sunrise you know what my name is, you have to, or then you you don't have to marry me. If you do not know what my name is by sunrise, then you have to marry me." And she said, "Yes, okay, this is easy, because I command the whole city. I will easily find out what your name is." And she instructs the whole city to stay awake for that whole entire night, until someone can come and tell her his name. And he sings this, Nessun Dorma, which means no one shall sleep tonight. Sad piece, because he's like, I really love this chick, but she doesn't love me back, you know. And she doesn't want to take my hand in marriage. And so he sings this very beautiful aria. And he believes that he will prevail. And in the end, well, no spoilers. Go watch the full opera. Thank you. second section of our performance where we will introduce the spoken word, after which we will join the two art forms, spoken word and music. So welcome on stage and take the lead.
Mere mortals, I can't shake the feeling that we are standing at the edge of doom. Someday, the sky will soak the sun in somber, subdued from all its blaze. Reality will relinquish what we know as days, and rays will be drained and no longer gleam. The beam that holds the structure of our being will soon collapse, and beings will be devastated when they find out that we are the Last Supper, served on tectonic plates. The tables have turned, even the greatest fear, to witness the illumination switch trip so that night could fall with its mouth open, swallowing the moon. Finally getting to taste planet Earth. Silence will swallow sound. The pin will no longer drop when the floor learns how to float. Gravity will let go of everything when the gigantic cosmos consumes the solar system that is seasoned with seasons, salty. All our tears over the years have formed oceans. We are the salt of the earth. And the universe has a dangling epiglottis as a chandelier made of stars. And everything goes down to its esophagus, to the belly of the abyss that is thronged with mortals from all these funerals, graves. Graves are just portals to the unknown. Who can escape the coffin? The black hole is a place of no return. We are orbiting oblivion with no obituaries. And faced with all of this, I'm trembling at the thought of how our existence will soon vanish. The trajectory of our being will end in tragedy. My greatest fear is nothingness. My greatest fear is death. My greatest fear is utter silence. My greatest fear is the absence of God's presence. My greatest fear is all these things combined. I just can't shake the feeling that we are standing at the edge of doom. Armageddon is nigh. The apocalypse looms. My greatest fear is simply getting a push. Good afternoon, everybody. How are you guys doing? Yeah, this is tough work. I'm sweating. As you all know, my name is Lethu Nkwanyana, and I love to say, let the poet and the audience says. Speak. Oh, okay. Do you guys know why we say let the poet speak? Don't know? Anybody? Want to take a guess? That's because I believe that God is a poet, and I let him speak through me. Just like this mic and the speakers, so I'm speaking, God is speaking, let the poet speak. Yes, sir. Yeah. So somebody asked me once about this poetry thing and asked me, what is this thing that you're doing? And my response was reciting. I'm speaking, I'm not doing the poem. Reciting is translating the sketches in my taste buds into sound. For my tongue is a pen, encrypted to inscribe realities that are apprehended from the firmaments. So when I articulate, you, the audience, are reading a writing projected from heaven with a halo. I am hologrammed as human, in motion, to tap into your emotions. So do not underestimate the gestures I make with my arms when I recite. My palms are like soldiers, and my fingers have been taught to go to war to conjure up the poet within you. These gestures leave the audience to conjecture of what these moves meant. Movements also tell a story. Reciting. Yeah, you guys are snapping. It was not even a poem. Yeah. As we all know, today is Human Rights Day, right? Okay, let's. Yeah, World Poetry Day, human rights, all combined. Let's human rights. Siyala, ukufiphala, isithombe sikazamcolo wezinhlamvu abacindezeli besikhapha ngevolovolo. Bengazi ukuthi ukubeletha ubhakha emhlane, ukubeletha izinkinga, isimemo sokuthwala umhlabathi ngesifuba. Our forefathers were cremated for pleasure. The smoke spilled over, penetrating the fog of time elapsed. And our history clings to a lineage of sad poems, questioning morality. Our mothers gave birth to flames. We are a bonfire, keeping the privileged warm. They set to light our dish to signal that we are not equal. Is this how justice is served? We've got a lot on our plate, and that does not mean we are not hungry. We are fed up. Do you know how painful it is to protest at the brink of poverty? As we caucus for confused candidates, law-abiding citizens become gawkers when Parliament plays politic whilst the country is piling with corpses as the cops squeeze the trigger. The bulletin is about how the bullet found its way in an innocent man's body. With policies that favor the police, there is no eulogy, there is no burial for those who die without a silver spoon. The deceased was a waiter. Nobody tips their hat at his funeral. The Bill of Rights is his obituary, and nobody pays attention to the violated laws. As the government's chest size swells with the Constitution, and the public reserve their chastise, injustice is being crucified even after Pilate has washed his hands, finding no sin or guilt or fault. We thought that we could find salvation on the cross that we casted on ballot papers in form of votes. Humans write the Constitution. Conscience, what's right about humans. Inhumanes, what's left when morality is stripped off and everything just is and everything just burns. Necklace is no jewelry when a tire is wrapped around your neck and they ask you to scream out a prayer, black man. Can I not do to you what this potter does to clay? Like clay in the hands of the potter, so are you in God's hands. Everything is made up of matter. I matter, for I am everything. My theory of human creation, biblical anatomy, states that God's matter carpals were its use, and picking up the soil of the earth, carving it, inserted his breath, and made it into a living soul, his masterpiece picked up from the depths of mud, magnum opus unearthed, his fingerprints, crafting clay into royalty. You are his prince. It is a fervent desire for all spirits to encounter flesh, to inhibit a body of skin and bone, to exhibit a pulse. You are a pivotal epicenter, a figure in an unfolding narrative yearning for a plot. Twist your spine without becoming serpent. The potter shapes you into his image, reminiscent of a deity endowing the earth with promise. Return. Your pilgrimage should not extend beyond the boundaries of these palms. The future is in your hands, and your hands are in his hands, but through his fingers you escaped, and you scattered like sheep with no shepherd to satisfy your flesh, fragile clay, yielding its composition to the scorching sun. Sin seeps through your cracks, eroding your foundation. You are lost in the wilderness. Pus-filled wounds gape beneath your garments. I can still hear the soft echo of your disquieted heart. Sin has rendered you dry and broken. Return. Barren soil can still become holy ground. Return. The wind has scattered the fabric of your pulse. Return. Can I not do to you what this potter does to clay? His palms, like the prodigal son, return. He will put the puzzled pieces of your dust particles, forming a perfect picture. His image, please return. Can I not do to you what this potter does to clay? Like clay in the hands of the potter, so are you. Speak.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome. Today, we've had quite a few spoken word artists on the stage here that's been joined by different forms of ensembles. Started with our string ensemble, and then a wind quintet, and then the brass quintet. And now this one, I think, is very special. With the previous ones, we had separate compositions by composers in their own right, and then the spoken word artist came on stage and they delivered two of their works, and then we did a new composition together. With the percussion, we're doing something completely different. I won't be emceeing this, but our spoken word artist will come on stage and deliver two of her works, with the percussion then improvising on what she is saying. So it's kind of a evolving art on stage, which is quite wonderful. After that, she'll deliver one of her own pieces without us interfering. And then we will kind of marry the two forms of art, music and the spoken word. The final piece has been composed specifically for the text that accompanies it, and especially for today. So we will finish off with that then. So in total, you will hear 3 musical works, all kind of supporting the text, and in total you will hear 4, can I call them poems? 4 poems. Enjoy. Please welcome the percussionists, who are fantastic, the percussionists of the KZN PO.
How is my hair oppression and resurrection? Augmented perceptions, revolutions, involuntary constitutions, wild contusions of fingers tangling abstractly into braids, ends burnt like sage. My hair is a bird and a cage, freedom or a cave, something wild or something to be tamed. Makes white masses enraged and black men still enslaved to the idea of white woman as wonder. So my hair must be suppressed under, drowned beneath waves of weave, so she submerges herself every month to maintain her white identity. Alternatively, burning boisterous black afro ends of black babies has become a ritual, because Bantu knots are seen as too political. So, you relax her under relaxers because straight hair imitates Cleopatra, Mona Lisa, the golden ratio. Now, she is worthy of a beauty standard never made for shades of indigo, so in she goes to the salon every month to commit suicide, killing crevices of her identity for which her ancestors died. But now with every stride, she gets compliments. A clean, contained, cosmopolitan black woman who is no longer a threat. Because before, everyone was worried, right? What does her bald head mean? Her Black Panther afro screams she automatically likes to hang white people by the noose. Her dreadlocks are too long, she is trying to seduce husbands into temptation. Her untamed mountain of a mane means she must not be serious about her life. Did you see her braids are colorful? Oh, she must go out all night. When will the black woman's hair not be a decodable, diabolical dictionary, a political Pictionary, a condemnation calligraphy, the hieroglyphery upon which she must be hanged? When will the black woman's hair not be enslaved to each and everyone's demands? So for once and for all, we pray, release your hands. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for coming to the show. For those of you who know, my name is Olive. My full name is Olive Anna Oluwatunyi Olani Peku Olusegun. I am Nigerian, Kenyan, and South African, and I'm very pleased to be here with you today. The poem that I just recited is a poem that really talks about both my lived experience, but also the lived experience of many black women in how society places so much expectations on our hair and by extension our identity. And the poem really goes through the narrative of from childhood to adulthood. One of the lines that's really, really impactful for me is burning boisterous black afro ends of black babies has become a ritual. Growing up, I would see little girls, toddlers, barely, exposed to anything, but in the salon being exposed to relaxers that are burning their hair, taking out the texture, and, from there they go to primary school and high school where there are just rules that have nothing to do with how our hair actually works, One of the rules we had in high school was that your braids have to be 10 millimeters into diameter. You can hear that it's not a black person that made that rule, because how am I going to go to my hairstylist and be like, that's what they said at school. So, and then you get to the corporate space, which is so different because some of you may know that during apartheid, they had the pencil test where they would put a pencil in a hair to distinguish between African people and colored people. If the pencil stayed, that meant that you were African because your hair was rough and coarse enough. If it went through, that meant that you were colored. And then obviously there are different rights. Obviously, black people had significantly less. And today, you know, we don't have the rules that are explicit in signs, but what you have is the microaggressions in the workplace, where, you know, I've heard friends say, someone insinuate that, oh, you know, if you want to get a promotion, maybe you shouldn't have dreadlocks, you know, things like that. So my hope with this poem is that people, and the poem talks about a lot of people, you know, will really reflect upon these standards that we put on black women, that we put on black people, and how it strips over time an identity, something that is so part of who we are. Recently I read that, you know, relax is actually, they're doing research, it contributes to cancer. So, you know, on a physiological level, on a societal level, on a political level, on an economic level, it's quite crazy how this affects so much. So my hope in the future is that I'll see a lot different standards and rules. This next poem that I'm going to do, in 2 sentences, it's about my lived experience of how a lot of white culture and European culture has always been prioritized above my own. And it tries to explore the question of why is Africa such a rich continent, but Africans are not rich people. The bitter fruits of English bruised our tongues before we could truly taste the mohodu of our mother's vernacular. We labor to uproot their language from our lungs, but anglicized claws cling to aching stomachs, grumbling to us that in this picturesque post-colonial pasture, if we do not eat and regurgitate English fluently, we will go hungry. I've been sinking my fingers into the soil to replant indigenous tongue trees, but whilst digging, I discovered infinite entangled weeds that are scrambling. The Scramble for Africa 1885. A group of distinguished white men sit down to decide how to plunder, purge, and prophesy the divide of Africa to our collective demise. Are our ancestors present at the table? Oh yes. They are served as the buffet. And by the end of the feast, cocoa countries are licked off the fingers of civilized European beasts. For the breakfast of 1888, Cecil John Rhodes dines on all of our diamonds, sprinkled on all of our daddies who disappeared into the depths of his stomach's mines. It was told that the big hole sucked and swallowed a father's voice. By the time he traveled home, his son did not even recognize his echo. Simangaliso, Simangaliso, the father called, but the son did not hear him because his teacher had renamed him. You see, the rose of Rolihlahlas had always burnt Miss Labushkakni's tongue. So, Simangaliso became Simon, became Simi. Silently, over centuries, the black father was severed from his family, sucked the marrow from his bones, and spat out his ancestry. For the lunch of the 1900s, King Leopold II slurps on succulent slices of Congolese captives. Mother tongues are chopped off of daughters and replaced with more sophisticated syllables as punishment for not producing enough rubber. Perhaps the rubber was used for our collective erasure, and that is why they rewrite our history so fluently, but only in English, French, and Portuguese. Over 100 years later, and we are still their dinner and dessert. The dark cocoa skin of Côte d'Ivoire children is melted, molded, and manufactured in Sweden, consumed by the Swiss. And the worst plot twist? Our very own neo-cocoa-skinned capitalists have joined the banquet. Some of our leaders lick their people off their lips like lint, becoming the cannibals of their own continent. How can we survive if we are still being consumed? How can we thrive when our mouths drip with the modern day juice of ancient imperial bitter fruits? Dear mother tongues, I pray that you are seeds, so that when they try to bury you like they buried our history, our tongues will finally taste on the fruits of our freedom. I suppose it's more of a soliloquy than it is a poem. But this poem, I won't talk about it much, but this poem is a result of conversations I had with friends over a series of years, and I think it culminated. I wrote this poem in one go, so I'm very much convinced that it did not come from me, but it came through me, as most poems do. But this poem is called A Dripping Tap. It's very long, so please, and it's long for a reason. A dripping tap announces a flood. A dripping tap announces a flood, an endless river of pain and blood. I'm a woman because his love squeezes me. At first, his love was an embrace, a soothing palace, a resting place. But as soon as time lengthened, his love suffocates, wringing me out until water and blood flow through the cloth of my emotions. I try to clean my pain away, scrubbing every crevice of this house to wash away what he has done, but no amount of bleach can clean the blood. The blood that flows between me every month that screams, you're a woman, he's a man, he's the butcher, you're the lamb. This blood is a natural effect of his bludgeoning of your holy grail. I wash the windows, I clean the sheets, I scrub the oven, I knead the dough. I tell myself that when he arrives home, my cleansing of the atmosphere will increase peace. That if I can manage to knead the truth out of myself, bleach my inhibitions, soak my sorrow in saliva until my words are hollow and no more, that he will bring peace. He will not release his anger into this house I have built. He will not shatter the polished glass. He will not tear the quilt. He will not, by the stench of his beer breath, make the flowers wilt. I tell myself that it is about my will, that if I till the ground of his heart long enough, that the seeds of my love will grow, that under the tree of my love it will be a place of shade and not shadows, that the arrows he now points at my heart will turn back time into pruned roses. But no, in these moments he only prunes me of my passions, weeds me of my wonder, cuts me of my confidence with confiscations of my capacity to live independently, but codependently he is killing me, suffocating me daily with pesticides of lurid lies, that I'm free but I can't leave, that if I didn't need him I would release, that if I didn't breathe him I could find another oxygen. His notions, patriarchal potions poured into my conscious stream, that the reason I stay is because he is the dream, he is the water of life, and without him there would be nothing but a drought. So my restless, rampant, already running feet become concrete as my mind is filled with doubts. His daily devotions, that out there nobody actually cares. If the neighbors hear shouts, they will reduce it to a lover's quarrel, a lusty brothel of brethren who sing praises to their gods before and after betrothal. My family does not even want me back. That is your husband's house, sissy, pack your bags. They say I must knead his hardened hands with my emotions, that a man's heart is like a rock, and that I am the ocean, that I must submerge him, I must temper his anger, I must be the feast to nourish this hungry tiger. So I put his clothes on a hanger, noosing myself to this house, telling myself over and over again, he's the cat, I'm the mouse, he likes the chase, is what they say. And I'm a woman, I must be chaste. I'm a woman, I must be placed. I'm a woman, I must be still, just in case his anger boils over. So I am the pot lid, I must be solid. I must contain him even as he burns me. I must restrain him even as he chars me. I must remain on him, and even if I blow the whistle like the pot lid that screams, it is only seen as part of the process. Because a woman's pain is a man's peace. Just a man's fortress is a woman's pain, so even if she blows the whistle, they say he is not the one to blame, for he is a man anyway. What did she do to make him angry. That he is boiling over, spilling all over the house, causing violence for the kids, the cousins, even the tiniest mouse. What did she do to make him act like this? For a man's violence must be caused by a woman's assist. She assists him by laying the table, tucking her head, crouching her legs, curling her form has become a norm in her own house, to not awaken the temper of a man who is a douse to whatever flame she once had. His anger is the only heat this house can handle. Every moment she wonders if the flame will consume the candle, and she is the candle. The wax that must melt. The woman that must bend to the will of the man's flame. The woman that must burn in order for the man to burn bright, so that in everyone's sight he is the most wonderful man. So caring, so loving, so honorable this man. She burns under his warning gaze that screams in his friends and family presence. She must behave. Hide the broken beer bottle shards. Silence the children's mouths. Remember, you are my wife and this is my house. Make the glasses sparkle, change your reflection. Put your makeup on, but not too much. I don't want you grabbing any other man's attention. This house is your detention, your retaining cell. This house is your redemption, my haven, your hull. This house is your exemption from your friends and family. This house is the queen's castle for everyone to see, because everybody needs the example of a great couple. The man who is strong and supportive, and the woman who smiles and chuckles. But nobody asks what is under her breath. The secrets that sit there suppressed under the weight of her tongue. Her tongue has become an arsenal, but only in his presence, a weapon of mass mutilation to all of his manliness, but in the presence of his friends, oh no, her tongue is a sleeping beast. Sleeping, waiting, begging for her release. Her tongue is a weighted bomb sitting in the weariness of her mouth, growing rotten with the quaking desire to shout. He is a murderer, an abuser, a myth-making mortal. He's a liar, patronizer, woman abuser, a human seducer. He is my husband. She smiles, her lips licking her own lies, her eyes whispering help. Her knuckles hidden from their gaze, her eyes carrying black weights, her knees crumpling to shakes, her shoulders crumpled at the seams. Her house is folding, but it seems everybody isn't noticing. They wipe her pleas away for help as easily as the stains on their lips from a sumptuous meal. They say her shaking legs are because of her heels. They say her black-weighted eyes are because she simply feels tired from all these lovely preparations. What a great woman, what a wonderful mother, what a wonderful mother, what a wonderful mother, what a wonderful mother, what a great woman, what a wonderful mother. Do you forget she's not just a woman, a womb-making factory, who when wallows is silenced for her greed. Her greed to be happy, her greed to be held. Her greeds are simply basic needs that are overlooked because a woman is just seen as unglorified help, unpaid labor, a man's only savior, must always excuse his behavior, must always cook his flavors, must love him because he craves her, because he made her, came from his rib, right? But nobody ever warned us that Adam blamed Eve for his own mistake. So she burns in this house, and she wipes her misery away. But every day he comes home and he makes it dirty again. So she cleans every day, every night, every hour. For his soul is a messy place, and she is always the one called to scour for his good traits. But she is tired. And as the blood flows again, she thinks to herself, it is time. It is time. It is time I leave this house, for his house is not my own. I will be better on my own. I am the caged bird, and I have beat my wings against this cage for far too long, until my wings have broken off. But if this bird must walk, if this bird must crawl, I will leave it all. I will mop up my soul from this ground. Pack what scraps of my children's hearts are left and leave this house where I have been held. I have been dealt a better destiny than this. My life lives beyond these walls, so let the blood flow no more. Thank you. Here I hold sin in my hands, proof that I am a woman, proof of the pain inflicted on me that I silently bear, proof that I labor, but not one, not two, not even three souls care or share my burdens. Here I sit alone, as is my nature, bearing the brunt of others' behavior. Here I sit, woman, bleeder, child conceiver, everyone's Here I sit and repeatedly postpone my care for yours. I rush, I open, I pull the string, I slip in quickly. They must not notice how long it's been. They must know I am clean. I am perfect. I am woman. Supporter of many, supported by few. I am woman. Bleeder, reader, child conceiver, still dream believer, daydreamer, night creeper, his redeemer, demure demeanor. Always the believer, but never the believed. Always the retriever, but never the retrieved. Always the shoulder that supports, but not the head that cries. Always the one to answer the questions, but never allowed to question why. Why am I a woman in the sense that it is my burden? Why is my womanhood your stoop to lounge on, your convenience to always count on, my body you always rest on, my limits you always press on, my character in your rom-com? Why am I a woman in the sense that it is my burden? Bleeder, reader, child conceiver, everyone's redeemer, but never my own. Thank you so much, everyone. I really hope that the poems stay with you and that you're able to meditate on them. Yeah, I think they deal with a lot of heavy topics, and I think what I would love for poetry to be something that we use as a mirror both to ourselves and society, because, yeah, you know, a lot of these poems, they came through me. I didn't write them. They came through me. So somebody who was not able to say these things trusted that we in this room would receive it and do something about it. So I hope that we do. But thank you so much. And we'll still see you guys, I think, at 6. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Good evening. I can assure you you're not watching Ravi Shankar. My name is Ismail Mohammed. I'm the director of the Center for Creative Arts. It's my pleasure to welcome you this evening to the 28th edition of the Time of the Writer Festival, Day 4, concert number 5 for today. It's been an absolute pleasure to work together with the KZN Philharmonic Orchestra. When one thinks of spoken word poetry and classical music, orchestral music, one often sees them as two completely opposite genres on opposite sides of the spectrum. But I must say that when we approached the KZN PO about collaborating with us and introducing poets and their audiences to orchestral music, we received only warmth and enthusiasm. I want to thank the KwaZulu-Natal Philharmonic Orchestra, Bongani Tembe, Christoph Space, Rina, Nicole, and every single musician and technical crew who's been working on making today an absolute success. But more than that, to offer people who've not had an experience watching an orchestra in action the opportunity to enjoy it as much as they could alongside with their fans and I'm talking of poets and their fans, but also the followers of those particular poets that we've had presented here. Today we've presented 5 poets who are 5 of South Africa's leading poets. Diana Ferrus, who you're going to see today, was a featured poet for the Poetry Africa Festival 3 years ago, but she's also an international brand for South Africa. Diana Ferrus's poem, which is a tribute to Sarah Baartman, played an anchor role in terms of how the French government restructured the repatriation policies or legislation. And interestingly enough, her poem is written as a prelude to that legislation. Xabiso Vili, who opened the early morning concert for us today, was the first World Slam Poetry Champion representing South Africa and bringing the championship title, competing against more than 40 different nations. Next, we saw Luleka Mhlanzi, and I want to thank her because she stepped in at the last hour for Kwanele Nyembe, who was our second Poetry Africa champion representing us in Brazil. Unfortunately, he was not able to attend this morning or participate this morning because he lost his mum. So Luleka, thank you very much for honoring him and making sure that the show goes on. We then got to Lethu Nkwanyana, who represented us in Togo as the South African champion. And at 4 o'clock this afternoon, we were mesmerized by Olusegun, who will be representing us in Mexico during May. The Poetry Africa Festival takes place every year in October, presented by the Center for Creative Arts. Next year is a major event for us. We'll be the hosts of the World Slam Poetry Competition, bringing 40 different nations to Durban, your city, to compete against each other. Now, that's not just a celebration of poetry, but it's an important contribution to the GDP of the city, because every person that comes representing their 40 different nations contributes to hotels, accommodation, restaurants, and to everything else. Poetry is not just words, it's a vital part of our economy. Support our poets. I also want to extend our appreciation to the Mzansi National Orchestra, who made this concert possible by providing us with a grant to be able to support the collaboration of this concert. I did say our thanks to the poets, but I also want to extend a special word to the open mic poets who, during the breaks between the concerts, kept us entertained, engaged, informed, provoked, challenged with what they had to offer. And we hope that many of those poets who performed in the open slam mic today, or open mic session today, would someday appear on our stages as well. To James Geldenhuys, I've seen you somewhere in the venue. James, thank you very much for taking on the opportunity, there we are, for taking on the opportunity to compose a collaborative piece for the poets and the musicians, and for being here today to celebrate that moment with us. Roz Hatcher at the back there, who's been an incredible production manager for every event that the Center for Creative Arts presents in this venue. Thank you very much for your enormous support, passion, professionalism, and the commitment for what you do. I can't thank you enough, Skalk van der Merwe, who's the conductor for the 5 concerts. You know, we, as we say in Afrikaans, ons het getwyfel. Ons het getwyfeld toe ons gedink that we're going to go to the KZN Philharmonic Orchestra and ask for a collaboration. But thank you very much for taking on the challenge, for doing it with enormous passion. But more than that, to be able to inspire a love for orchestral music amongst our poets, because we've had every one of them talk to us about just how genuine and how wonderful the experience was. And then, of course, to you, our audience, thank you very much for supporting the work that we do. Without you, we simply have a stage, artists, but no show. So thank you very much. I'd like to call on Christoph Spies. Thank you.
I'll do this rather. Just a quick word of thanks from my side also for Skalk. Skalk has come in from the University of Pretoria and been with us for the whole week. He's been outside of his comfort zone. We've been outside of our comfort zone, and the poets have also been stretched by the collaboration, but I think it's a beautiful space for creativity and for new ideas. So just thank you so much, Skalk, you've been amazing. Thank you so much for the musicians. We've had incredible performances today, and looking forward to another beautiful one coming up. Just to say, we are really excited about crossing genres and about the opportunities of something like this. I'm really excited about a World Poetry Africa Poetry Festival happening here next year, and look forward to continuing the conversation. Thank you so much.
Jim? Oh.
15 minutes ago, I got to do a poem. But I got one for you. Have you guys heard about the... Hey. Sorry. I was told about 15 minutes ago I gotta do a poem. It sounds better, right? Thank you so much, Christoph. I appreciate you. Yo! Y'all are mad! That was crazy. Yeah. Alright, cool. Have y'all heard about like the James Webb Telescope? Right? Like the James Webb Telescope is like crazy, right? Because like they started building it like 32 years ago, and they didn't know that like the technology would exist yet for it. Like it took them 32 years to build it, and like the entire idea is that like it utilizes light to like capture images. And so like, I mean, if you look at the sun, like you're actually seeing the sun from like 8 minutes ago because it takes 8 minutes for light to reach it. But the James Webb Telescope can like capture light from like the beginning of time. Like it's its own time machine. But the thing is, it's about like one kilometer wide, like on the top and on the bottom. And so they had to figure out how to like use these like foldable mirrors to shoot out into space 1.5 million like kilometers away, and then like it had to unfold, and if like there were like 344 single point failures, like if there was like just one thing that went wrong, then it didn't work. But like what's crazy is that like, so if it's pointed in that direction in the sky, it will take a picture of like 8 billion years. But then if it's pointed in that direction, it will also take a picture of 8 billion years, which means that the past is all around us, it's in every direction. Right? That's mad. So this poem is called Tonight, I Am the James Webb Telescope. The James Webb Telescope can capture light from the beginning of time. Most of the galaxies it holds have already died. Tonight, I unfold the mirror of my arms, and memory is a trickster. The sky, a gaping mouth, and all my friends are made of stardust. We are 12 years old. My best friend and I clutch onto the ground, watch the clouds sway, drunk of peach snaps and apple sours. He has not yet tried to catch a train with his chest. I have not yet tried to swallow his dying on the rocks, gasping for breath. Instead, I'm 1.5 million kilometers away, floating in the stillness of space, unfolding through 344 single-point failures, existing against all odds and too far to be repaired. I origami my joints into a big bang, an epitaph to a universe that doesn't realize it's dying. I'm dreaming of her again at her 18th birthday, sneaking kisses in corners beneath a yearning sky, hiding from pursuing cake and candles. She tells me the stars have never looked so bright. I am not yet at her memorial, packing my tears into the back of my throat, betraying my grief with a trembling voice. I've not yet disappeared into the fold of my sheets, grasping at cascading funerals and dominoing caskets settling in the earth, and at the hands of lovers adept at taking their own lives. Tonight, it is a super moon. The stars hum of new beginnings, and we must get dressed, unsink ourselves from the depression in our beds, wade through the vast expanse of grief. It took 32 years to build the telescope, and what foresight to believe in a technology that did not yet exist. And maybe it is faith that keeps this universe in place and our dreams in orbit. My oldest friend and I sink into the softness of her scars. She tells me her hopes for the future and how these keep her heart beating and her wrists intact. I have not yet seen her lifeless, and the James Webb Telescope is not a prophet. And tonight we do not die. There is laughter coming through the walls. Friends return calls. We sing to the moon, and all our graves are empty and sparkling, and all our far away friends are brought home by the night. The James Webb Telescope cannot see beyond the light. We are 12 and we are 18 and we are here and we are now, and we have not yet seen the children we will have or the children we will become, but we write faith into the dark, and the horizon it bends to rise behind us, and the telescope is light to our children. And tonight we are all gathered at the beginning of time, and we are a hope to those that are not yet alive. Thank you.
Igama lami ngisawuyena Luleka Mhlanzi. And thank you for the reviews for my performance earlier. I feel so much from them. I'm sorry to disappoint you. I'm going to sing, so good luck. Indlala ingukufa. Kuba ngokuvuka nje. Asesongene amathumbu. Kunempi ebukhosini basesiswini sami. Kubangwa umsoco ongafiki. Ufaka ngakhi kanti ofana nami. Ngaphambi kokuthola ukuphila okuphakade. Kuze uyasha eParliamente. Ogombela kwesabo kuphela badla wona lamandla phelayo. Ngemmese nezimfoloko zakwanokusho. Umdali kanti unakho ukubuka konakala. Osewutholile umbuso ungohlabeneyo. Umbona ngokuzixebula kwabafana naye. Kushintshe neso abona ngalo. Indlala lena ingumkhokha. Olokhu ngizungeze njalo. Sebenze kuze kunqamuke izandla. Kwehle izithukuthuku zelekana. Lutho okuhlomula ngokuzothulisa lo msindo senkabeni yami. Ufaka ngathi kanti ofana nami. Sengaze nginikele umoya wami ezimpisini pho ukuze ngizizwe ngiphila isikhashana. Ngihlonishwa isikhashana. Bake basingenisela amanzi endlini kodwa ontaba asazani asibonani nje yibo. Umdali yakamuntu ukuthi angaba nemizwa. Kungenjalo ngabe ziyavuka izinseka ngokushona kwelanga wakhe engadlile, ngokudleka kwamandla wakhe engahlomuli. Kusile kusasa. Yiso leso sikaxake kafuthi. Qaqeka qaqeka mageda ngendlala.
ababoshwe ngamaketango ezinkanuko. Esihlakaleni kabasasiboni nesiprofetho sozankosi uma sithi wozankosi. Ugwadule lomphefumulo wabo inqanele yamanzi yokuphila agobhozayo enxebeni. Isiphetho segazi lemvana elachithekayo kwakungesiso isiphetho umthombo. Ompompozayo nawe usengaphonseka uzihlanze kuwo kuhlokwezandla zikaPilatu kangiboni icala. Umele kuba njengomuthi otshalwe ngasemfuleni zimpande zawo zincela khona umele kuba njengomntwana. Kuthiwa umbuso wezulu ngowabanjalo. Kodwa namanje usadunguza oswini lemcabango uma ucimeza usicinga ingaphakathi. Ufica ubumnyama inhliziyo igaya izibozi ithi kawusenalo ingaphakathi selaphuma laphila ngaphandle kwangena ingaphandle elimdaka ngaphakathi wena usuphila ngaphandle kwakho udukiswe ilizwe udinga ulizwi abiye ingaphandle lakho alenze ingaphakathi. Phela akekho yakubaba ngaphandle kwami. Let the poet speak. There is a house perched beneath the breadth of our village. It reminds me of myself. Arms stretched is a fence that hasn't hugged a family in ages. Lungs that can no longer draw the bloodline without the shape of lonely. Overgrown yard that can drown a child has drowned my childhood. Along with the mailbox askew on a bending pole, it emulates my voice box that opted to be mute with a mouth full of memories. Muffled the patter of feet of my kindred, reality evicted giggles that once harbored in this house. Erased lines on palms. No identity, for fingers have lost their prints, and a home has lost her prince. To live a rough life with smooth hands that are vigorously rubbed, but friction is futile when warmth is held hostage by a sharp breeze that cuts skin with a cold winter dagger placed on necks uncovered by scarves. Street kids with strangled throats and congested nasals in self-defense, they blow grenades of disgust as they burst, oozing mucus, trying to escape suffocation under temperatures. They are sighing a breath that imitates smoke when it rises, and the body becomes a vibrating coliseum for gladiator cells that are weaponless versus hypothermia Goliath in an icy battlefield. Imagine how empty bellies wrestle starvation. It's not so royal when tummies rumble. Teeth gnashing at war, imbaula wrapped in rust, fed wood spew flames, so they gather around the fire, not just for heat, but to feel the warmth. But the warmth kangaroos and springs out of sight. Don't follow the light. The pupils dilate, so they die. Now they are late. Another street kid has been found dead this morning.
Thank you so much for being here tonight. This has been such a wonderful experience. Thank you to everyone. I think I need to do this. So I chose this poem because today is Human Rights Day, and I dedicate this poem, I wrote this poem about my mother. And I think as someone who has been living in so many different countries, the first place of safety, the first place I think where my human rights were valued the most was in my mother's arms. So this poem is called In My Mother's Arms. I hope you enjoy it. In my mother's arms I am grounded. I have not found yet the things of this world that make me forget who I am. I am the star in the sky that shines without fear. I am the brown smiling face that has not been scarred by rolling tears. I am the mountain untouched, not carved or shaken. I am the river that flows true, its path unmistaken. I am the branch of the tree that grows evermore. I am the sand in the ground that has never become storm. I am the single tree in the field that has not been compared to any other. I am the light in the eyes and the eyes of my mother. I was grounded. And now I embark to return to that previous land, climbing up, climbing down, searching for her hand. I am traveling the journey without ampersand, falling and tripping fearlessly, flowing and fainting flawfully, but never rejecting myself for anyone or anything. I'm the bird unchoked by opinions, free to sing, free to bring who I am with unfettered confidence, free to talk to others without building a defense. Free to be, free to glean, free to grow, free to see, free to scavenge, free to find, free to run without caution, free to sometimes run blind. And to find the rainbow at the end of the mountain, maybe a pot of gold, maybe a bottomless pit, maybe just charcoal. But I have let go of presumptions. I am unconstrained by fear. I have shifted my thoughts back. I have returned to first gear. I am putting on armor to fight all of my years. Returning to who I was before I became. Returning to the fountain, unfiltered, unconstrained by the path of the river that was carved out before. I am letting go of all rejections and flaws. Before I was told it was cool to be a drought, to stop flowing as yourself and flow as something else. I am growing in a manner that requires less. I am growing in a manner that does not come with stress. But I am growing as I am, not who I was meant to be. I am growing as that child, loved, cared, and free. I am growing into the most beautiful version of me. I am grounded. Thank you.
It is overwhelming indeed. Great orchestra, great conductor, Christoph and Ishmael, thank you so much, and the audience, and my fellow poets. The first poem I'm going to do is a poem that I wrote some time ago for the children killed in the crossfire of the gang wars on the Cape Flats. And then I was invited to the International Poetry Festival in South Korea, and I had to adapt the poem. And that time, South Korea and North Korea were still trying to get together. Unfortunately, it never happened. But I managed to read this poem in North Korea. It's called The Peace Song. And when I die, I want to die peacefully. Although by bullets, bombs, or shrapnel. I want to die with my eyes locked in yours. And may you see in it the love I carry for you. I want to die in peace, for peace, giving peace, loving peace. I want to die peacefully. Placing my blasted out heart in your palm, while your gun is loaded with fire powder, chemicals, finely mixed solutions created in corners not spoken of. And as we meet in that final moment, I will think of the ones whom we scorched in Hiroshima, those without limbs in Sierra Leone, the orphans in Rwanda, the bones we dug up in Bosnia. I will bring before myself the world, and I will not shout out, "Oh my God, have mercy." But I will give to you my last breath, that it may fill you, that you may wake from your slumber and soon be stripped of pretense, that you never felt the devastation of 2 world wars. One we call first, and the second, which we cannot call last. We're not aware of the trials at Nuremberg and now The Hague, and the faces exclaiming, "We did not know." And if at that moment I'd be granted a second, I would ask you to reflect on the near and now. on the gun in your hand, the bomb and your body, the missiles manufactured where? And if those thoughts could penetrate you, I would die peacefully, with my eyes locked in yours. And may you see in it the love I carry for you. I want to die still loving you. I want to die for the cause, in the name of peace. In this love I carry you, to keep this peace. I want to die for this cause, in the name of peace. In this love I carry you, to keep this peace. In the name of love, in the name of peace, in the name of love, in the name of peace. Songs I never sang for you, for my mother Anne. I never sang you a love song. I always thought it were in my steps as it came running to you. I thought your widened eyes and sideways smile were good enough music between us. I brought gifts you displayed. There was a rhythm in your voice, a pitch I recognized, a sweet note I savored. But today, I wonder if you could tell that I was an alto, that I could swing between soprano and bass, and that deep in my heart, I carried scales, choruses, and solos, songs I never sang for you. Come on. Came as a result of a diver from Iziko Museum, Jacob Boshoff, who found a shipwreck close to Camps Bay. When they brought up the artifacts, they found that it was a ship that sank in 1794. There were the records in the archives. It was a ship from Mozambique en route to Brazil. And when it came around Cape Town, it sank. There were 500 slaves on board, 300 drowned, and 200 were sold at the Cape. And for the media release, Iziko Museums asked me to write a poem. It was difficult. It was only when I remembered what my uncle told me. He said the Februaries where I come from, and you know when you go to Cape Town, you'll find Mrs. October and Miss April and Mrs. August. The slaves were given the names of the months they were sold into. When my uncle told me that the Februaries where I come from were also called Tima speakers, the Mozambicans. And then I had my poem. My naam is February. My name is February. My naam is February. Ek is verkoop. My borste, privaatdele, my oë, My brein is nog nie myne. Soos die saaiou sê, loop ek opgekap, word ek telkens gesink deur 'n ander storm. Geen Jesus wat op die water loop vir my. My naam is Februarie. Ek soek nog die stang van die stuur, want onder water lê die familie. Die ma aan pa se hand, die kind aan ma se rokspand. Hoe diep lê hulle, aan watter kant? My naam is Februarie. Opgevuil, verkoop. Die hoogste bieder het geen vergoeding aangebied vir dit, my regte naam. Gesteel, gesink, onder water lê dit nog, saam met die familie. Wrakstukke van die saaiou sê, ten gronde geloop deur 'n wind. Briesende branders, waar die byt se hele toekoms besluit, die profeet teen die wal uitsmyt. My naam is Februarie. Die masbieker op die saaiou sê, so was ek genoem. Toe my hier se moedertaal gestalte kry, toe tonge met mekaar begin te knoop en letters 'n vrye gang begin te loop, in 'n desperate poging in hoop dat magte ook nie hierdie identiteit moet stroop. Word ek die masbieker. Net een naam. Onder 'n ander lig gekraam. In diep geval. My name is February. I reshaped this landscape. My hands wove the patterns of the vineyards. My feet pressed the grapes, and I was paid with the wine. I carry alcohol-fetal syndrome children on my back. My name is February. I still march on the eve of December 1st. I walk the cobblestones of this city when I cry out in desperation, remember the emancipation of the slaves. My name is February. 200 years after the saaiou say I was given the vote, they said I was free. But don't you see how often I am submerged? Way down. I'm the sunken, the soiled, forgotten, and yet memory will not leave me. My name is February, stranded at Third Beach, but no one comes to look for me. No one waves from the dunes. No bridges back to Mozambique. My name is February. I shall be resurrected, brought to the surface, unshackled, unchained, unashamed. My name is February.